You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Lohman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Lohman.
Welcome, everybody. It's the House of Sunny podcast. I'm here with sidekick Doug. Hey, Doug.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Hey, I'm going to play the joke that we have on the voicemail.
Like
I'm great. I'm in Minnesota, as usual. I was just here for a vacation, but the reason that I brought everybody up here is because I have to come here anyway every month for medical treatment. So the last time I brought my daughter, and we kind of made a little vacation out of it. But I'm back here now for my monthly treatment, and I just fly in and fly out, basically stay with my mom. But I go to this, I get an infusion, and they do blood tests and stuff every month. Because my doctor's up here. That's part of it. It's an insurance issue. I can't get a doctor in California to properly prescribe medication. My doctor here is willing to kind of think outside the box, and he works for the University of Minnesota. He's a great doctor, so I just keep coming back, and it's really an insurance problem and a doctor problem because California's medical system is so horrible. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. But I don't know if you've ever had this where you are dealing with a medical situation and you have a nurse or you have a tech or something and you just have no confidence in them. And like
this happened to me too. Yeah.
So I read this book. I kind of relate this to this book, Protecting the Gift, that I read about, like how to protect your children. And you hear this cops say this all the time. The number one thing is to always listen to your instincts, and your instincts are giving you information. It's not really your instincts. Your brain is processing super fast all of these inputs, and you're having a feeling based on that, and it's based in reality. It's not an irrational thing. There's
Malcolm Gladwell wrote a good book on this called Blink.
Okay, I never did read that.
Yeah, it's really good.
So this guy says, if somebody rubs you the wrong way that's taking care of your kids, like listen to that and do not, it's better safe than sorry. But the chances, when you talk to people who've been victimized, they often say, I knew there was something wrong with that guy, or whatever.
Exactly.
And so, and I grew up in a bad neighborhood, and I just have that naturally, like because of that situation. I just, the hair on the back of my neck would go up, and I would not walk down that street, or I would cross the street, or I'd go into a store and avoid a person, or, I just got kind of good at avoiding dangerous situations.
I feel that way when I go into women's restrooms.
Something's wrong here.
I mean, what did I just say? Sorry.
I have no idea. Are you in a dress when you go into women's restrooms?
Well, I consider it to be a safe space, but.
That is a safe space for guys. Unless there's another guy in there.
Well, who knows these days? It's just a free-for-all.
Anyone can be in there. Women's restrooms are for everybody.
They are. It's like, that's where I meet my buddies now. Get a couple beers.
Hey, let's meet up at the women's restroom. You could just bring your own chair. Sit around there waiting for some hot chick. Oh no, we're just, hey, don't mind us. We're just binary. We're binaries.
We're just expressing ourselves. Yeah, we're binaries. I'll do anything.
So I'm sitting there, I'm about to get this blood test, and they're just drawing blood. And this woman comes in, and right away I'm like, oh shit.
Didn't look good. Yeah.
Whatever the inputs were I was getting, my instincts were, okay, this is going to be bad. So when that happens, I just, they can find a vein anywhere, and really good people can stick you. I've given a lot of blood over the last 2 years and had a lot of IVs and stuff. Great people can find a little vein anywhere and stick you like in your hand, in your forearm, and you don't even feel it. It's like, it's perfect. It's amazing. Really good people really do this well. And when it goes south, man, it hurts, and it's just kind of, for whatever reason, it's psychologically really hard to be stuck and have that fail For me, that's one of the hardest things.
You.
Yeah, you're being stabbed, and there's something like primal about being stabbed, because I've actually had to give myself a shot in the past, and that the hardest part about it is doing the plunge, which doesn't hurt, because usually those shots have really thin needles that you give yourself, That part doesn't hurt at all. There's no pain. But the psychological idea of piercing your skin, there's something about that.
Well, I think millions of years of evolution have taught our brains not to
don't have your
sharp
skin
objects into the skin.
Opened up. Yeah, exactly. So when they do it badly, it's one of the hardest things to deal with in as a patient. So anyway, I'm like, oh crap, this woman is weird. Like, I don't trust her. And so when she said, do you have a preference on like where you'd like me to, I said right away, I'm like, go right for the crook of the elbow, because that's the vein pops out. It's like, hello, welcome to my vein. Just, it's like a friendly vein. Everybody can do it. I try to avoid that because you don't want a ton of scar tissue there and stuff, because it's an easy vein. But when you're dealing with someone who can't do an IV, or that's where you want them to go, because it's super easy. Well, so she sticks the needle in. I don't feel it, pain-free, whatever. But no blood comes out into the little canister. So she's obviously missed my vein. She's just poked into my skin and not gotten into my vein. The needle's just hanging out there in my body, right? So no blood is going into the vial, and seconds are going by, and she's looking right at it, and there's no blood, and she's not moving, and she's not doing anything. Jeez. And there's no blood coming out, and I say to her, "You're not in the vein." And then she pushes it in further. Oh. Like, that's going to get the vein. And I'm like, you just completely missed. Like, you have to pull it out. And she pulls it out, and she's, she didn't really know what to do. And the fact that she didn't act immediately when no blood came out, like, you don't know that blood is supposed to come out. It's like, so then I said,
that's some part of the training. You think that when you don't see blood, what should you do?
Yeah.
A, jam it in further.
Right. Well,
B,
or
pull
no,
it out.
A was just sit there and wait.
Stare. Wait.
It's like her whole job, she's not a nurse, she's a tech. Her whole job is getting blood out of people's bodies into vials. So
after 10 seconds, the blood should start flowing from the vein.
Exactly, right? So
if 30 seconds goes by, jam it in further.
So I have never done this. I said, I think I want somebody else.
Good for you. It's hard to do that.
It was hard to do that. I don't know why it's hard to do that, but most places, if they fail twice, they automatically will give you somebody else. And that's kind of standard at this point. So I let people go a couple times. I mean, it doesn't kill you, But
well, I had a similar thing about a year ago. I was getting blood. The woman comes in and she starts jabbing me, and it wasn't coming out right away. And she's serious, and I already get woozy when people do this. She started like stabbing me like hard, like taking the needle and like really like she was trying to kill me, kind of a feeling. And hey, I passed out.
Oh.
I fainted.
You totally. You should go work for Google. You're kind of like.
It's very similar to election night.
You're kind of a huge pussy.
That's right. This is how I felt. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't have a problem with needles. I don't have a problem with giving blood. Like I said, I've given myself shots before. I've been through so much that I don't have that fear or apprehension anymore.
Yeah.
But
well, if you have this once or twice, you do this like once every couple of years, I get real creeped out by it.
Yeah, I mean,
it is primal.
It is.
I don't like blood.
Yeah, there's a thing about that. There's definitely an instinct thing. It's baked in.
By the way, if any listeners are starting to feel a little dizzy right now, sit down. You know what they told me to do if you're ever going to pass out? Have you ever heard of this?
No.
You squeeze your butt.
Oh, your vasovagal, your nerve, that vasovagal or whatever?
Yeah, like it drives all the blood back into your brain. So, because I had a nurse once tell me that, like, if you're feeling like you're going to faint, you, like, kind of squeeze your butt, and it, like, prevents you from... It's a really good technique.
We're learning a lot on this podcast today.
We are. This is exactly what you came to this podcast for.
All right. I want to talk about Google videos. Have you seen some of these?
Oh, speaking of hysterical pussies...
Right, exactly.
Not that I consider myself to be a hysterical pussy.
Well, actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. We need to play our joke. We have a joke on the Google voicemail.
Oh, gosh, yes, of course.
It's a Google voicemail, by the way. We might have to change that.
Gross.
Might have to change who we're doing business with here. Okay, here's the joke.
Hey, Sonny, a joke for you. The night before her wedding, Maria pulled another aside and said, Mom, I want you to tell me how I can make my new husband happy. The bride's mom took a deep breath and said, well, dear, when two people love, honor, and respect each other, love can be a very beautiful thing. Maria said, Mom, I know about sex. I want you to tell me how to make lasagna.
She already knows about sex. That's bad. But she also knows, she's mature, she knows that 10 years from now, food is going to be more important than sex to her husband.
She's wiser than the mother.
Yeah.
If she
she's
already
like, sex?
knows. Well, yeah, and they've probably been having, if they're in this day and age, they've probably been having sex for a few years before they got married.
It's already time to learn about lasagna.
Now it's time to learn about food.
That's right.
The greatest part of marriage.
That's right. Women cook. I'm here in Minnesota, and for the first time in leaving, I'm kind of worried about my daughter's diet right now because she's been throwing some temper tantrums, and I'm like, okay, we need to like back off the sugar because she just won't eat her protein, and she's always asking for something sweet, and she's obviously a sugar monster.
Yeah, my kid's like that too.
So I want to back off the sugar, which means bread and things like that. And I know when I leave that it becomes, frozen corn dogs and like, I mean, I'm not kidding. That's what Mark does. That's what he cooks. It's disgusting. It's all carbs. She probably picks the corn off the corn dog and just eats that. I mean, it's bad.
No, there's dog inside the corn dog. That's protein, right?
I'm okay with her eating the dog, but I'm saying, like, I think she only eats the corn. She just eats nothing but bread and jelly, basically, for 3 days while I'm gone, or for 2 days. So
those are the two food groups in the Midwest.
Yes, exactly. That was my
jelly.
That's what I grew up on.
Bread and corn.
That's what I grew up on, which is why I have health problems today.
I grew up on Count Chocula, Frankenberry, and Captain Crunch. So.
Boo Berry was my cereal of choice when I was a kid.
Terrific. Great cereal.
Yeah. So anyway, I planned their meals. I actually planned the meals. I made a pork roast before I left. I got everything out and ready and like planned easy paleo meals down to pre-made butternut squash noodles for the spaghetti. Can you believe that?
Sounds horrible.
That's what a great...
If you're a 5-year-old or 4 or however old your kid is, that sounds horrible. Horrifying.
Whatever. It's good. Thanks for validating all my extra effort.
Let's see. Corn dogs,
Jerk.
Captain Crunch, or a pork roast with butternut squash. I mean, it sounds good to me.
I know. Well, this is the point. You have to feed them food that they don't necessarily choose for themselves because...
It's like a dog. You can't give a dog a burger. You can't give a dog a steak.
A dog would eat chocolate, but they can't have that, right?
Yeah, right.
All right. So I'm going to tell a joke later on in the podcast at the end, and we'll end with a joke so we don't get too serious on this show like we always do. All right. So I am going to talk about these Google videos now. If you haven't seen them, you've got to go see them. So somebody leaked a video of the day after Trump won the election. There was a meeting, an all-hands meeting, or maybe not all hands, I don't know, a Google meeting with all the higher-ups, and they were just upset about it. I mean, the CFO starts crying about it.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
Yeah, I guess upset. I mean, and they're acting like everybody in the audience must agree with them. I mean, they're just thoroughly depressed that Trump has been elected, that Hillary has not won. They're discussing their involvement in the Hillary campaign, their support of Hillary. They're sad about the election. They're talking about, I'm sure all of you are heartbroken, like, we're all one. We all must be Democrats. We all must be pro-Hillary. It's really despicable. And, I mean, is it despicable? I think it is. I remember a day when you did not talk politics and religion at work.
Yeah.
I remember that day.
Well, that day's today. I mean, no one. Who does this?
The left.
I've never been at a company where they talk about it.
Oh, I have. I mean, I remember I worked in Denver for a while, and there was a woman there who liked to talk about environmentalism. And I got in the habit of just saying, I don't agree with it. I don't agree. Like, just saying that because I wasn't going to let her put it out there like, oh, we must all agree. And she would say it like that. Like, and she would act like all righteously indignant, like, oh my God, what? Really? How could you not? And
they can't even conceive that there's another.
Totally inconceivable to her, which is why she felt comfortable to talk about it. So I decided it was my job to make sure she knew that it wasn't the only opinion.
Yeah, that's right.
And, but at that time, she was my colleague. She wasn't my boss, Talk about a Me Too movement where you're sort of forced to adopt an ideology because your bosses have it,
Yeah, right.
And I actually had that experience at Wells Fargo. I worked there as a consultant. I'd been there a year. And I'd already started making videos, and I was a management consultant, everybody, before I did this lovely podcast.
That's right. Yeah, that's why the economy collapsed, and then
I gave bad advice to Wells Fargo.
you destroyed the entire banking system, and then you moved on.
I told them to buy up all of these funny mortgages. And
I think they're called subprimes or something.
And then I said, quick, sell them off really fast.
Flip or flop? Have you guys heard of this?
All right. So, yeah, that was me. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so some colleague of mine discovered my hijab video, the one where I wear a hijab and pretend to be a leftist, supporting Muslims who want to do female genital mutilation. And so
that's not controversial.
This wasn't good that he discovered it, but I said, oh my God, you didn't tell anybody, did you? He's like, yeah, I told everybody. He thought it was so funny. He thought it was great. And he was a pure Democrat. He's like a gay guy, a total Democrat. But he thought they were great. He was so excited that I was like a YouTuber. But my boss, who I knew was a serious lefty, because he talked about it at work, and he was one of those people who felt like, well, everybody's a Democrat. So
yeah.
He fired me the next day. Yeah, the next day.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And I had a week left on my contract, and we had my goodbye party already. Like, I was already out. Like, I was gone in a week. My contract was for 1 year. I had a week left. The project was over. My goodbye party was planned. And he fired me a week before my last day.
Okay, you were gonna leave anyways, though. It's not like I thought you had a long-term position and they fired you.
No. But I thought it was worse that way. I mean, he could have just let it go because I was out anyway. He didn't have to, but he had to make a statement. He had to, because he was like one of these Google people who just thinks everybody who isn't a Democrat is evil and cannot be tolerated. You're an unperson, like a Scientologist, You've got to be excommunicated, and you have to be, you cannot be tolerated. You can't have a job. I mean, this is why they try to get people fired. People who are on the right cannot be allowed to work and support a family. Like, that's what they think, Yeah,
it's inconceivable to them that there's another position, because in their mind, their position is consistent with empathy. They just think, well, I care about people, and that's why I'm a Democrat, and anyone else, you must want people to die.
Yeah, you literally hate people.
So how could any reasonable
You're
person?
literally Hitler.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
By the way, those videos of Google, there's a whole genre of these videos. I think we should call it maybe like Trump porn or something, because it's all like the election night and the day after the election. You can just watch these videos. I can watch them for hours. It's all the sobbing leftists on TV and that were breaking down after it.
What I experience when I watch these things actually is I laugh. I don't actually think, oh my God, these people are horrible. I mean, I think that, but it's really so extreme that it's funny. And it's one of those times where you wish that there was an SNL for us, and because I think it's sketch comedy gold.
It is.
This Google video is sketch comedy gold. I encourage everybody to go watch it from that perspective. Like, just imagine that this is an SNL show. And this is actually just a big joke, because that's how it really is that bad. Yes. And I'll play just right now. I'll just play the introduction, the start of the meeting. And then I want to play... pretty upset. Okay, hang on. Then I'm going to play this clip from when an audience member got up that I thought was really funny. Okay.
Okay, folks. I know this is probably not the most joyous TGIF we have had. Let's face it, most people here are
pretty upset
and pretty sad for because of the election. But there's another group, a small group that we should also think about, who are very excited about the legalization of pot.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That can't be real.
That's real. You gotta go watch this whole video. Okay, so here's another clip, and this one to me, from front to back, and I'm going to post this on Facebook.
This is the biggest company in the world, right?
Yeah, this is the biggest. This company, think about what this company owns and does. And they run YouTube, and they run your search, and they run, they run everything. Oh my God, they run everything. And I was thinking, maybe they know something we don't know. Like, they actually, they know Trump's search history. We don't know Trump's search history.
They met with Obama every week. They met with him like 200 times or something.
Yeah, but to my point, right? Don't you think they might know some stuff about Trump that we don't know, that they can't tell us?
No.
Like,
I don't think he uses a computer to get. I mean, he's screwing porn stars. I don't think he needs internet pornography.
Right, he just gets the real thing. Okay.
He just goes outside his house. Yeah.
So this video clip is an employee gets up to the microphone, and you'll hear him say his thing, and on the stage at this point are all of the Google top execs. And after he's done, they all stand up and clap and they love on what he said, okay? And it's just this clip alone is an SNL sketch. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
It's so stereotypical, so archetypical of a virtue signaling. By the way, the guy who's about to speak is a white guy, okay?
Okay, we have two more questions, I guess. Okay, be super fast, yes. Sorry, I will take one at each mic. Sorry, sir, maybe.
Speaking to white men, there's an opportunity for you right now to understand your privilege in the society. Take the opportunity to go through the bias-busting training, read about privilege, read about the real history of oppression in our country, and tomorrow night, watch 13th, the movie that is here. If you can't watch it here, watch it on Netflix. Discuss the issues you are passionate about during Thanksgiving dinner, and don't back down and laugh it off when you hear the voice of oppression speak through metaphors, and I promise to do this.
Oh my God.
Way to go, white guy. All the executives are clapping and loving it. Can you believe that?
That sounds like a church.
Doesn't it? It is.
That's worse than church.
And if you aren't on board, you're an unperson. You don't deserve a job. They fired James Damore. They fired him for his ideas.
Of course.
So that's Google. I can't imagine that any decent person would want to work there. how could you work for such unstable pussies that can't deal with an election? The CFO was crying. I mean, when Trump won the primary and Ted Cruz didn't, I was pretty upset about it. I didn't shed a single tear, you know. I just, the idea that this would make you cry. If Hillary had won, I would not have cried. I wouldn't have cried. Would you have cried?
No, I mean, I've been crying for 25 years since the Clintons came on the scene, so I'm spent.
We're screaming on the inside, but we're adults, so we don't like break down and we're not children, you know, like keep some composure. You're at work. You're also a leader. You're on stage. You're leading thousands of people, and you're in tears over an election of a president in a country that has so many checks and balances. I realize the president is stronger than he should be, but Trump really can't get away with that much. So even if he were a totalitarian dictator, which he's not, I don't believe that, there are so many checks on his power.
But the irony is that they're the ones who want an iron dictator. I mean, They're the ones who want the government to control our lives.
They actually want...
Well, there's something deep here, though, because you know, when we watch this and these people are weeping and sobbing and we laugh at them, I think for the right to really probably act it or to know what to do, I think we have to understand this phenomena better. Like, why are these people? Because this whole resistance movement and this sort of primordial reaction to Trump's presidency, this is profound. It's like nothing we've ever seen. Right. And I think it goes to the heart of like who these people are and what they want and how they're oriented to reality, not just their politics. It's like their whole worldview and how they view the purpose of life, the purpose of government, the role of government, this white privilege idea, how their psychology is now wrapped up in victimhood and identity politics. And I think it screams that, that we have this divide metaphysically, like the metaphysical and epistemological approach we have to just dealing with reality is it's not just like, oh, you guys want, more welfare and we want less welfare or something. And this is like a completely different orientation to reality. And, you've got, it's like men are from women, Venus, Mars thing, it's like, I don't see how our country can like withstand this sort of intellectual divide.
I agree. I've since Trump's election, I've become increasingly just kind of fatalistic about it and thinking we're really just going to have to separate, mostly because they really are not open to reason or discussion. They're so thoroughly emotional and convinced that this other ideological side is evil and is nefarious and is, they think they're fighting Hitler. And it doesn't matter that they're wrong. They'll never know it because they aren't listening and they're firing people and the mob, the SJW mob is in charge and they've allowed that. They want the government to silence people. Nobody on the right wants the government to silence the left. The people on the right complaining about social media aren't saying, we need to silence the left. They're saying we want to have a voice. We want to be able to talk to our friends and say what we want to our friends and put out our ideas into the world. And if people like them, they can have them. If you don't like them, don't click on it. That's we want to be able to have equality of voice, equality of opportunity of speaking, and the left wants to shut us up. So it's a really big difference, and I'm pretty scared that if they get power again, they're so unhinged at this point. And the fact that when you look at the left and what they're willing to do, the harassment, the violence, the deplatforming, the firing. We're going to talk about this in a second, but Norm MacDonald got his appearance on The Tonight Show canceled. He was in the studio and they canceled it because of a pretty mild comment that he made, which we'll talk about. The mob is is they're okay with that. If they ever get political power again, they're going to crush us. They are going to crush us.
And historically, that's exactly what they do. And I think fundamentally what you're getting at is it's a difference between a conceptual and an anti-conceptual approach at a very fundamental level. Like, we believe in reason, we believe in arguing and debate and making a case and persuading someone through persuasion. And they're the triggered generation. You say the wrong word. It doesn't matter what you mean, what the context is. You just say the wrong thing. It creates a feeling in them that they're scared and they want to kill you. They want to stop you. They want to hurt you. They want to harass you. It's a religious.
It is. It's a fanatical.
It's a fanatical religious
emotional
orientation. Yes, it's anti-conceptual. I mean, at root, it's anti-conceptual. It's like, we don't believe in cognition. I don't want to hear your argument. I don't want to hear about principles. I don't want to hear about economics. I don't want to hear about the history of, these legal precedents or anything like that. You say you're for the Second Amendment. You means you want to kill kids. I got to stop you. You're trying to kill. You're trying to kill me. You're trying to,
You want kids to die.
You want to restrict immigration, at some reasonable level based on these reasonable criteria.
You hate brown people. You want to kill brown people. You don't. Yeah.
It's just it's. I don't know. The best way to put it is it's like the triggered generation. Where they're just. If that's what it means, like just a word or a concept. They put you in a bucket. You're in the evil bucket or you're in the good bucket. That's all they recognize. It's like a religious crusade where you're either a this or you're either an X or a Y. Yeah. And that's why it's irreconcilable, because it's not like we can have a debate. There is no debate. They don't want to have a debate. They want to kill you. Yeah. So like you're saying, at some point they take power and they start shooting people and setting up camps. I mean, this is what the left does.
I don't think we're there, but we're at the point where if the Democrats do get power again, they're going to use the government to do whatever, audit, not give a voice to, all Republicans are going to become second-class citizens within the government. Right. And people will be fired. They won't.
Are you intimating that the government might use the IRS to shut down their? I can't imagine that.
The Democrats would never do that. I mean, they did it and they got away with it. And it'll be worse coming up. And it's not just like everybody talks about the IRS, the lowest learner thing, where they didn't give status to deductibility status to all these Tea Party groups, which probably did harm their ability to fundraise. But they also attacked and audited activists. Mm-hmm. That's something that's not really discussed, and that's even worse. I mean, they bogged down activists in legal and financial situations to deal with not just IRS audits, but OSHA audits and all kinds of. I mean, there are stories of people who are activists being attacked by the federal government, and in every way, in multiple ways, like one person getting attacked by multiple agencies at once. So that would be much worse, I think, if they take power again, because they're angry now. Trump is evidence to them that there is nothing left to talk about. That anyone who would vote for him must just be wicked and horrible, and there's no, you're supposed to talk about it at Thanksgiving. You're supposed to be mean to your relatives who are Republicans because they are evil and have to be stopped. So anyway, I really find, though, you have to laugh at this stuff. We can't just be so serious about it. Watch those videos. Laugh about it. It is serious, but it's also really freaking funny. And this is your enemy. And let's beat them. I mean, they're pussies,
Yeah, while they're crying.
Yes.
Beat them down further.
We can easily take their milk money. Come on now.
I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm fine with separating. If you're a socialist, you can have that. I'm comfortable with that. Did you see there was a poll? I think they pulled a Gallup poll recently that the majority of Americans are okay with California seceding from the union.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't see that.
Yes.
I think that that's
Gallup.
the
It's
solution.
a Gallup poll. Google it. So they said, would you support California seceding? The majority of Americans around the country said, yeah, go ahead. Bye, California.
It is. It's its own country.
Yeah, it really is. They have a lot of debt, too. We don't want to have to end up carrying that federally,
Yeah, no, I totally support the secession movement there. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think there's a few other states that could secede because at some point these differences, like you said, are irreconcilable, and there's no why are we fighting these people? Why do we have to have a union of these states that no longer share a common set of values?
Yeah, and California's not going to turn around. I mean, it's just going to get worse. They have a super majority here, so that's why I moved here. Loving it. All right, let's talk about Norm MacDonald. So he was interviewed, and he was asked about Roseanne and Louis C.K. because they're friends of his. They're actually close friends of his. And he was saying something like, I connected them to talk because there aren't a lot of people who've been through what they've been through. To lose your whole career and everything you've worked for in a day. In Roseanne's case, it was over a joke that with arguably no victim. I mean, Valerie Jarrett is just fine, And for that, she's fired, her show's canceled. All of those people who were working on the show are out of work, writers, cameramen, actors, out of work, because she made a joke, and she was serious joking. She was passionate about her issue. She doesn't like Valerie Jarrett. She claims that, first of all, newsflash, monkey is not a black thing. The monkey insult is not black. It's everything. I don't know where that came from. That's like a new thing. That if you say monkey... No,
I don't think it's a new thing. I think people used to disparage black people as monkeys. I could see being sensitive to that if you're a black person.
Well, but white people have too, and during World War II, we called the Japanese monkeys.
Right, we're all monkeys, basically.
I mean, humans are from monkeys, so we all kind of look like monkeys. I just, if you're ever criticized for your race, you probably were called a monkey. So maybe that's the sensitivity. It's kind of it could be maybe a racial thing. I don't know. But anyway.
But Valerie Jarrett does look like she's from the Planet of the Apes. I just want to get that in.
She does look like that. And I thought she was Iranian, and I think everybody thought she was Iranian because she was born in Iran and she looks Arab. She doesn't actually look black. So anyway, here's what Norm MacDonald said. I'm going to quote it. This is exactly what he said. There are very few people that have gone through what they have, losing everything in a day. Of course, people will go, what about the victims? But you know what? The victims didn't have to go through that. And he has since apologized, and he said, he was thinking about Roseanne's victim and not so much Louis C.K. I mean, Louis C.K. was exposing himself to people at work. That's weird. So I can see where that's different. You're putting it's kind of harassing a little bit for someone
to pull your dick out and masturbate in front of people
that you work with. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably inappropriate. Can
I masturbate?
Should I have done that?
Oh, thanks.
Because if someone had told me that was frowned upon here, I wouldn't have done it.
I don't know if I would have taken the job if I thought that you were going to masturbate in front of me, but
that's like Costanza when he gets fired.
So
not supposed to do that.
Anyway, Norm was set to be on the Tonight Show. So that's a fairly mild comment, right? I mean, you could see that it was okay. Maybe is he going to apologize? What's he going to say about how's he going to? Maybe you're upset because he's not being empathetic enough to victims. He's just being supportive of his friends. I don't what Louis C.K. There is a difference though between what Louis C.K. did and what like Weinstein did. So it's on. There are degrees here of
right.
evil. behavior against employees or coworkers or whatever. So Louis C.K.'s on the end of where, yeah, that's really inappropriate, but it's not like what Weinstein was doing.
Right.
So anyway, he was supposed to be on the Tonight Show, and he was there in the studio, and Jimmy Fallon came and was like, "Yeah, I don't know what to do. Producers are crying." Again with the crying.
Again.
People, okay, if you're crying about that, you should be fired.
Totally. You're on a comedy show.
If you are a producer on the Tonight Show, which is the A game of comedy shows, of talk shows, you're a producer and you're crying over what I just read to you, that mild remark, I mean, you're fired. Would you my response to that? You can't hack it. You can't handle that. And the best thing for ratings would have been put the guy on the TV and ask him about it.
Sure. He makes an offhand comment. Just ask him about it. I'm sure he'd explain it. Whatever. Who cares? It's great TV. I mean, if you're Fallon, just for comedy ratings, or I'm sorry, for ratings itself, you would do that. What's wrong with that? I would
absolutely but Fallon,
and to stand up for your friend and for free speech.
Yeah, right. Well, there's that too. But instead, he canceled him. He bumped him.
That's sick. And he should be ashamed of himself.
Norm is a comedian. Comedians are people who say shit. I know because I pretend to be a comedian. And I have stuck my foot in my mouth and made a really inappropriate joke around my friends before that I then later was like, oh man, that was really embarrassing.
Yeah.
But if I don't allow myself to be kind of wrong and make mistakes, then I will never have a good joke.
You won't be an interesting person.
It's part of the epistemology of being a comedian. I have to say that I think you say more wrong things because you drop that censor. You can't have that censor, or if you do, you won't be able to go up to that line of appropriate and say something kind of absurd and funny. So comedians are people who say more outrageous things. They just will. And I think you got to give space for that, Yeah,
of course.
But yeah.
That's sickening that Fallon did that.
Can you believe Fallon did that?
If you don't have a thicker skin in comedy,
honestly,
get out.
I think Norm's a Democrat too. It's not like he's a Trump supporter or something. So what I love about Norm is what his response was like on Howard Stern the next day. He said, you'd have to have Down syndrome to not feel bad for the victims.
Exactly. Brilliant.
So, and then on another interview, he said something like, they asked him, so what do you think should have happened, when Louis C.K. recently, as kind of a comeback, it wasn't really a comeback, but he went into a comedy club that he always used to go to work out his jokes. He went into that comedy club with some jokes, and he did 10 minutes. And that's the first public appearance that he's made since all of this happened, which was over a year ago. And people in the audience were some people were sort of upset, saying, it would have been nice to have known ahead of time that I was going to be supporting Louis C.K. by listening to his jokes.
Wait, Sonny, are you saying that he went into a club and he forced himself on other people without their consent and made them participate in something they didn't want to participate? Is that what you're... Because I can't believe Louis C.K. would do something like that. Yes. This is shocking to me.
Yes, it's just...
At least they just...
Crazy.
At least there's probably no climax to the set, unfortunately.
He just was trying to, he really likes the reaction from people.
He does. Well, yeah, of course. They were a little surprised. He likes to keep people off guard. That's his jam,
Well,
that's his thing,
So he was asked about that incident, and he said, do you think that was fair to the people in the audience that he kind of ambushed them with his comedy, quote unquote.
Get the rim shots out, man. I'm on fire.
There's a lot of material here. Okay, so he's asked this question and he said, "Oh yeah, that's horrible. I think they should have had their money refunded, and then they should have been given an extra $200 to go buy some shoes. Ladies like that."
So great.
So he's like, give them their money back, and then he's making a sexist comment. And
Perfect.
That's Norm MacDonald for you. But he also did apologize. But you never know when he's sincere or serious, because his comedy is so dry.
Yeah.
I love
He's my
him.
hero.
He's great. He's great.
He is. He's kind of like, come on, that's his attitude.
Yeah,
like,
that's his
I'm sorry if I offended anyone, but
right.
You'd have to have Down syndrome to think I was not sympathetic. I mean, that's
he said you have to have Down syndrome to not be sympathetic to the victims.
Right.
Yeah, so he's saying, and I don't have Down syndrome, so I'm sympathetic.
I have a new campaign and a new bumper sticker I want to start. It's called Down with Syndromes. I just had to make that joke.
Burp. Wah, wah, wah.
Thank you.
All right, so anyway, I think we can agree that Jimmy Fallon screwed up there. That was a really big mistake. And
watch his show. Norm's got a new show, though, so we got to watch that.
Norm has a new show on Netflix. Watch that. It's called Norm MacDonald Has a Show. And it's produced by David Letterman, whose show, I don't know if you've watched his new interview show, which is horrible. Ugh.
Yeah, I'm so sad about that because I love David Letterman in the 80s. Like, he was my guy.
Yeah.
I just idolized Letterman growing up. I used to watch it every night. And the last 5-10 years, he just went off the rails.
He became an angry person. I don't know. Yeah. He's like a sneering, contemptuous, angry lefty now. And his show has that vibe. And I didn't watch the episode with Barack Obama because puke. But I did watch his interview with Howard Stern, and it wasn't good. I just didn't think it was good. It was too sappy and weird, and I don't know. I just didn't think it. I love Howard Stern, and I thought it was not a very good interview. So, but watch Norm Macdonald's show, and I think comedians should boycott the Tonight Show.
Yes,
I think they should boycott until Jimmy Fallon fucking apologizes.
Yeah, they owe him an apology.
Yeah, they really do.
They owe all of us an apology. I think everybody owes everybody an apology.
Everybody owes everybody an apology.
Right. I think we should just all go to we should all just go to an empty room.
Kumbaya.
And die. So we don't hurt anyone's feelings.
Kumbaya, my Lord.
By the way, Carl on our Facebook page says there's an anti-Trump rally this morning on the beach at Wilmington, North Carolina. Spread the word.
Yeah, that's really funny. Oh, speaking of Facebook, so we have this private group. Sunny's Elite Squad has a private group on Facebook where we kind of talk about stuff behind the scenes. And if you are a Patreon supporter, you can get entree into that very private group. But anyway, they came up with some things that they wanted me to talk about. They wanted us to talk about. So I'm gonna read a few of those, and we can talk about them because some of them are pretty good. We'll speed through some of these topics.
Sure.
Ed says the Google post-election all-hands meeting. How can immature, irrational, and out-of-touch ideologues get to run an $800 billion corporation? And Doug says, we can't explain that. We can't. We have no explanation.
Yeah, don't even try.
Carl asks, Facebook fact-checking pics and videos. Yeah, so that's new. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Facebook is going to start fact-checking photos and videos, meaning they're coming for the memes, folks.
What does it mean to fact-check a photo?
Well, in the past, they've had trouble with that because you can't read words on a photo. So it's not as easy to do, the character recognition and have algorithms that can read the memes and say, oh, this is inappropriate. This violates our community standards.
See, I thought they were going to say, like, Doug, the photo you're posting of yourself is like 20 years old, dude. You don't look like. Come on, Doug.
We are all so screwed if they're fact-checking photos like that. You don't really look that skinny.
Come on, Doug. That was your high school yearbook picture. That is not what you look like now.
That's right. That is so right. I posted yesterday. I don't really post any recent pictures of me because I'm sick and I feel like I look sick and I don't want to put that out there. I don't know. Why would I put that out there? So I did do a Snapchat picture of myself with like a really good filter yesterday.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, you look like a cat.
Yeah, it put ears on me and glasses and it like.
I fact checked that, by the way.
Well, if you fact check that, you will see that that's not accurate. I don't actually have pink furry ears.
You don't.
I don't. Okay. And those aren't
the AI algo missed that.
Yeah, it did. So I think what they're doing, I don't know if you've seen this when you get a story that is being fact checked by Facebook, a news story. There's actually like a little banner that says this, you may want to check this other story that gives another perspective on this.
Oh my God.
And they're going to do that with memes and stuff now and pictures and videos.
I think they should also fact check like vacation photos. You know, how people are
it would only
telling
be fair.
you how great their life is.
Honestly,
they should be like, this guy's life is not as good as you think it is.
That's right. In fact, that would actually be healing, I think, for a lot of people. We need to use these new algorithms not for politics, but for personal life. Like, the picture of the couple going, oh, it's our 10-year anniversary. We love each other. Fact check. You guys have been in couples therapy for 2 years. You're screaming. Your neighbors have called the cops on you twice.
Exactly. You're trapped in a loveless marriage.
Your kids are overweight.
Your kids suck. Your family sucks. Everybody hates you.
That Hawaii trip was a disaster from the moment you got there.
Exactly. Now that I would be on board with. I'm good with that.
Yeah, I agree. That's the fact checking we need. Okay, here's another question. What's the worst weather storm you've ever experienced?
Oh, I was in Florida, what was it, about 8-10 years? No, gosh, longer than that. 2004, 2005 timeframe when there was 4 storms, I think in 6 weeks. We had 2 storms in 2 weeks, and then we had another. So bottom line, I was in 4 hurricanes. During that period.
Yeah.
And I fell off a ladder.
Oh my God.
I was like trying to put up the hurricane shutters. After I was trying to take them off, I fall off the ladder and my arm's like gushing blood. And so we're like trying to drive through post-apocalyptic Florida after hurricanes, trying to get to the hospital. And the most interesting thing about it, though, was before the hurricanes, when they first announced that they were coming, I'll tell you, you don't realize how on the brink society is. You know how they always say, like, we're 24 hours, society's always like one meal away from everything, like civil order breaking down, like when people get hungry, so crazy. When they announced it and everyone went and cleared out the shelves from all the stores, there was nothing left. Like, there was nothing in any of the grocery stores. There was no gas stations open. Like, you couldn't get gas, you couldn't get food, you couldn't get water. I mean, you start thinking how much you rely on civilization. Was scary.
We really take for granted that the grocery stores are just constantly full of fresh food. I mean, you go in there, there's always fresh meat, always fresh vegetables and fruits. And that stuff hasn't been sitting around in that store for days. It was trucked in that morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's funny that your worst weather storm you've ever experienced is in Florida, because so is mine. And I think it's all the storm issues depend on kind of where you are. I've been through lots of tornadoes and bad thunderstorms in Minneapolis, but I've always been in a house with a basement. In Minneapolis, we all have these shelters and stuff. So it's, unless you're in like a trailer park, you're pretty safe from a tornado here. Even if your house is going to go down, you're usually pretty safe, I think. Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm just wrong about that, but I've never felt too afraid. So I was in Florida. It was 4th of July, and we were on my dad's boat off of the pier at St. Petersburg watching the fireworks. And that night, the storm comes in right after the fireworks. So all these boats that are out there are heading back to the marinas, and we're in this huge storm, and the waves got really big. And we're in this, at the time my dad had just basically a little speedboat. You know, there was no big under cabin. It wasn't a very large boat.
Yeah.
And the waves were up at, like 9 feet, and we're in this little tiny, really a lake boat. I mean, this boat was more like a Minnesota speedboat level. And that was pretty scary. We did make it back, but all right. And then he asks, what would I do if a major earthquake hit LA? Well, I don't know. Nothing. I don't live there. What would I do if a major earthquake hit where I live, though? I don't know. I've never been in one. What happens? Probably the apocalypse.
Do we consider winter to be a natural disaster? Because I think if you're in the Midwest, you basically have a 6 months of natural disaster.
Yeah.
That's worse than, I don't know, earthquakes depend. I mean, I've never been in one, but obviously the people that have been in them seem to say, I think it's the feeling of there's nowhere to go. Like the whole, like what do you do? It's not like you could go hide in a basement.
Right,
like
exactly.
The whole earth's shaking. I mean,
I think you run outside if you can, right? Isn't that safer to be just outside?
You would think.
The
like
danger
you're in a
is
field.
the danger is the buildings fall down on you. I don't think the danger is that, like the typical movie where the ground opens up and there's a crack and you fall into the crack. Like that could happen, I suppose, in an earthquake, but it's more
that
the roads.
happened in Superman.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's more the roads collapsing or buildings collapsing on you and stuff. So they say to get in a door frame or get in a stairwell or get in a bathtub with a mattress over you or something. So
unless you can fly around the earth and go back in time like Superman did.
Reverse it, right? If I could do that, that's what I would do, Kevin from Sonny's Elite Squad. Last question. Are you binge watching any shows right now? I am binge watching the Great British Bake Show, which is a contest of very polite British people baking. And what I love about this show, it's not like an American reality show. Everybody loves everybody. Everybody's friendly. Nobody ever yells at anybody. The contestants help each other. Like, they help each other with their bakes. So
it's not a competition?
Oh, it's a competition. And somebody wins.
Is it fake English nice, or are they really nice?
They're just so nice. Yeah, no, they're nice. And it's calm. And I watch it to just kind of chill. And my daughter, who's 4, who loves to cook, loves the show. She loves to watch it with me. It's probably the only adult show that she will watch. So if I just want to like relax with her and cuddle with her and watch a show, it's either Scooby-Doo or that. And so,
That's cute.
I did buy Scooby-Doo for her. She's binge watching Scooby-Doo. The old Scooby-Doo.
That's my favorite cartoon. Absolutely my favorite. I tried to get my kids into it, and they won't watch it.
Oh, my God, she loves it.
I absolutely love it.
She loves it. And I picked it for her because we're dealing with, in today's culture, all of the kids' shows, all the modern kids' shows, the people talk to each other really bad. They're mean to each other. There's a sneering, you're stupid condescension, and she starts to talk like that. And she's 4. She's not getting that from us. She's not getting that from anywhere but TV or other children. And so, who are watching TV. And
it's like the, oh my God.
Yeah. No,
there's always
Mom.
a sneering.
Yeah, it's like a teenager sneer. And I'm like, what? You're 4. Why are you talking like this? This is crazy.
With a laugh track.
It's so I'm buying old shows, and I was watching Scooby-Doo with her the other day, and sure enough, there isn't a hint of that. And you have a situation where you have a group of friends working on something, they disagree about stuff. Shaggy and Scooby are always screwing shit up.
Like I'm not liking the Scoob.
Oh no.
Zoinks.
And no one ever talks down to them. No one, and Velma's all smarty pants, but she never talks down to anybody. And the bad guy's there, and he doesn't even talk down to anybody. I mean, So it's really different, this culture, and I'm not letting her see those shows anymore. And I've been really careful, and it's still seeped into our family somehow. I don't know where she's getting it. She's probably getting it from other children more than anything.
My kids are lost now in that. I can't
too
stop
late.
it now. But by the way, just to illustrate the difference between you and I, like you're watching this polite baking show.
Yeah.
I'm binge watching Ozark.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Because I love Jason Bateman. I just think he's like the greatest actor.
I like him too, except he's so lefty that I've started to not be able to watch him because I can't separate his politics from his. He is so active.
I didn't know that.
And such a jerk about it, and he uses that really sharp wit and that great sarcastic talent that he has to make fun of people on the right. And
thanks for ruining the show.
Yeah,
for
sorry,
me.
I just ruined the show for you.
But they're all like that.
By the way,
you basically
Doug,
can't watch TV if you are too strict about it.
No, you can't.
But this show is great. I mean, it's really dark. It's in the second season. It's a really dark show.
I've heard it's great. I try to ignore and avoid celebrity interviews because I don't care if you're on the left. I want art. I want art in my life, and I'm try really hard not to become, mentally averse to somebody, emotionally averse to somebody. But some people are so active, it's hard to ignore, like George Clooney, people like that.
Yeah, Sean Penn.
Sean Penn, well, he's also gross. So
Don Rickles.
Speaking of horrible shows that you binge watch, I went and watched the first episode of Suits because I know you love that show. And it sucked. So I don't know what you're talking about.
We got to get Ashley on the phone here. I have to tell you, I've been watching the most recent season. I watched every season. And I sit there and I'd say 5 times an episode, I literally say out loud, this show is so stupid.
It is such a stupid show. Like the courtroom scenes where he's supposed to be some hotshot, I'm like, that wasn't really very smart or clever or anything. I mean, I don't really... Only a person with Down syndrome could appreciate it. What the hell, Doug?
Down with syndromes. Listen, there is something about this show that captured my imagination, and I can't explain it. I refuse to explain it. I watch this stupid show every season. I've watched it, and I hate it. I sit there and, like, all the mannerisms of the show and the cliches of the show, like, one of the things they do is they hand each other folders, like, because they're lawyers.
Right.
So they'll always, and I want someone to do an SNL sketch of this, where it's like, hey, Sonny, will can you get me a soda? And I hand you, like, a folder. And it says, get me a soda. Because, like, they don't talk or explain anything. They just say, I think you're not going to like this. And then they hand each other a folder and they look through it. And it's a lawsuit. It's so awful. So every time they hand each other a folder, I crack up. It's almost
hey,
like...
Doug, can you check out this post I put on Facebook today?
Hand me the folder.
Hand you the folder.
It's so dumb. I mean...
Oh, that's funny.
It's really bad. And it's so corny at times.
It's a really corny show with really not clever writers. Like, if you'd think you'd have a lawyer in there to like make up a courtroom scene that actually was clever, like where you could actually buy that this guy's like a maverick hotshot, big city lawyer. I can't even buy it because it's so dumb. Ugh.
No, watch a few more episodes. You watch the first season. If you're not sucked in, then it gets better.
If you hand me a folder on that, I'll do it, okay? That's all I have to say.
Handing you a folder
all
right now.
Thanks. All right. So let's end the show with a joke. I have a joke because I was sitting in a cafe a couple days ago, and I overheard this joke. These guys were talking, and this guy told a joke, and of course, my ears immediately recognized the joke cadence, Like, there's a guy somewhere. I wasn't listening to these people's conversation.
That's like your superpower.
I suddenly became aware that somebody was telling a joke.
Yeah. It's like Aquaman.
Exactly.
Sunny summons her comedian friends. The Hall of Jokes.
Exactly. Okay, so here's the joke. Oh, by the way, I start cracking up laughing. And of course, they just looked at me. And they're like, oh, she was listening. Okay, so here's the joke. This joke takes place in a small town. So it's a very small town, and there's only one lawyer. And he's got this meeting with city council, and he's talking, he's doing some lawyerly stuff. He's talking to the guys at the city council, and he says, there's just not enough work here in this town for me, and I'm probably going to have to move. So after he leaves, the city council people are talking to each other and saying, this is really bad news. We can't not have a lawyer in town. How do people get justice? How do we can't really function without a lawyer. What can we do to help this guy? How can we get him more business? What can we do? And they decided to add a lawyer.
Brilliant.
All right. I hope that joke makes sense to people.
It's good.
I thought
love
it was
lawyer
funny.
Jokes.
All right. Hey, if you guys want to call in a joke, we will play it. The number to call in a joke to our voicemail is 707-681-5834. Also, if you want to be a part of our Elite Squad and be part of this secret Facebook group, go over to Patreon/House of Sunny, and you can join up. $2. I think it's $2, even $1. I think you just have to be a patron. $1 a month gets you in that secret Facebook club. So do it. Be a supporter. And thank you very much for listening, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for listening to the House of Sunny podcast. Go check out Sunny on YouTube at her channel, House of Sunny. Everything Sunny does is fan-funded. And because she's likely to get kicked off and demonetized on every